Today, we'll explore essential materials and tools for crafting beeswax flowers. Yellow beeswax is more flexible and firmer, but it is not ideal for flower candles since it is yellow. We usually use white beeswax. It is creamy white. However, most flowers in nature aren't pure white either, so white beeswax is a suitable choice. Additionally, we can add white dye to address the issue. Besides beeswax, we need soft microcrystalline wax. This kind of wax is sticky. It serves two purposes in candle making. Firstly, as a glue for the petals. Secondly, as a beeswax modifier by mixing it with beeswax. Wax behaves differently with temperature in different seasons. So we need to try different ratios. Moreover, the mix for the core and petals might vary. For example, a typical ratio between them for petals is 4:1 in winter. Generally, the higher the microcrystalline wax ratio, the softer and stickier the mixed wax. So it's good to raise the microcrystalline wax ratio in colder weather. In warmer months, do the opposite. Pure beeswax is also an option for petals. However, it leads to plastic-like petals, and it's hard to assemble them. So we don't recommend using pure beeswax. For flower center, we increase the proportion of microcrystalline wax. Some flower might even need a 1:1 ratio. To make a flower center, you can roll it by hand or use a mold. Here's an Austin's core. These are cores for buttercups. These are the cores of the two flowers shown at the start of the video. You can also hand roll cores. When making a core, threading the wick through core center, choose a wick based on the flower's size. There are 3 ways to make a core. One way is to buy a sphere or half-sphere mold. Another is to make your own mold with silicone, or increase the ratio of microcrystalline wax like 1:1 and shape a sphere by hand. The latter 2 methods are more time-consuming. Now let's discuss tools for shaping petals. Making thin petals like this requires some skill. Generally, we can use 2 methods. The first method involves evenly pouring the melted wax onto a silicone tray. This results thick wax sheets. These sheets can't be used for petals directly. We can use a rolling mill to thin them to desired thickness. This rolling mill has a knob to adjust settings ranging from 0 to 9. The adjustment range is from 0.6 to 4.8 millimeters. It allows for reductions down to 0.6 millimeters. There are drawbacks of rolling mills. It's easy to create indentations. Moreover, rolling mills are pretty expensive. We often prefer the second technique. First, pour the wax onto about 1/3 of the silicone tray. Then, by tilting, let the wax flow to evenly spread it across the entire tray. Repeat the tilting a few times. With some practice, you can get pretty thin sheets. Once you have the sheets, you can use cutting dies for petals, different flowers, and the dies come in various sizes. Select the appropriate die, press it onto the wax sheet, and you've got your petal. Sometimes the edges of a petal might be a bit thick. Gently thin. This lends a delicate look to the petals. To give the petals various curved shapes, you can use a ball tool. As you can see, a ball set comes in different sizes. Select the size based on the petal and shape the petal as you want. After shaping like this, beeswax flowers can maintain their shape well, as long as they're not in high heat. Another tool we have is flower petal clay cutter. It imprints realistic textures on both sides. Each flower type has its unique pattern. Pressing molds the petal surfaces to achieve natural textures. But if you're making a bunch of candle flowers, I don't really recommend adding textures because there's a chance the petals might break in the process. Plus, pressing takes a lot of time. For a truly authentic look, however, texture pressing might be worth the effort. Keep in mind, wax isn't as soft as clay, so the textures might not be very clear. And this sponge pad here can also be used when handling individual petals. In winter, a common issue is wax cooling too quickly due to low temperatures. Once the wax cools down, it gets hard and difficult to shape. We can use a warming plate like this to keep the wax warm and soft, which makes things more efficient. That's all for the basic tools needed to make beeswax flowers. For specific techniques for different flower types, we'll cover them in hands-on classes. Thanks for watching.